So welcome everyone. Thanks for making the time to come and join us today. Today we have a special guest joining us, Shirley Ha. Is that how I pronounce your name, Shirley? Shirley's going to be
Yeah,
talking
it is.
about.
Thanks.
Oh, cool, awesome. Shirley's going to be talking about cybersecurity awareness. I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say in this space. Let me jump to the actual agenda. So just a quick intro for those who haven't been here before. I believe Oz and Kaylin, it might be your first time. So what we usually do is we have a guest speaker that talks about a particular topic, and then we jump into some real life exercises around cybersecurity. So it would be good to hear what you guys have to say about the scenarios that we put forward for this session. So house rules. So usually we have a large group, so we keep our mics muted. If you have questions, you're free to interrupt, raise your hand via Teams, and we're gonna get people to answer your questions in order. As I said, we're recording these and posting on YouTube, English only. Don't be shy to ask any questions. We're not here to judge you. If you don't feel comfortable speaking, send your question via chat. And as usual, let's make this fun. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Shirley. Shirley, can you please introduce yourself and also mention or tell us a little bit about the topic you're going to be presenting about?
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Andre. I really do appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. So I'm Shirley. I've been in the security field probably for the last 4 years. I started with studying a undergrad cert in cybersecurity and networking at the Melbourne Institute of TAFE. I recently graduated from New South Wales of TAFE to do a refresher course in ICT. And so my last role was at the New South Wales Public Service Commission. That was based on cybersecurity awareness, incident response, and auditing. Over the past year or so, I've been on my little startup research discovery journey about creating a sustainable career ecosystem that empowers every cybersecurity journey. But because we've got a smallish group today, I did create a shorter talk for 15 minutes. But if you do have questions along the way, please do pop in and ask questions along the way. Cool. Thanks.
Sounds good. So I'll hand it over to you. Do you want to share your screen, Shirley?
Yeah, will do.
Okay, let
Thanks.
me
Just
stop
give me a
sharing
second.
mine.
Okay, cool. Great. Thank you. Alright.
Stopping sharing. We have a few more people joining us, which is great.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm sharing the right window. Right, just
Oh,
give me a
good.
second.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. We don't
cool.
want to know your bank details
Oh no, that's not off. Yeah, close everything. All right.
or
Okay.
your Bitcoin balance.
If I was only that skilled. All right, is it showing?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Well, anyway, hi everyone. Thank you for coming to my talk about cybersecurity awareness and the importance of cybersecurity awareness. All right, well, we already did my introduction, so we can move over to today's agenda. So I will be starting off with a brief introduction and refresher about what cybersecurity awareness is, which will then be followed by a group activity where everyone will be submitting their ideas to create a word cloud on menti.com. So please do have your phone ready to scan the QR code. No login is required. Following that, I will be talking about debunking the myths of cybersecurity awareness and also reviewing the word cloud as well as a group, which will then be followed by Exhibit A, where there was not so great cyber comms back in my time, and Exhibit B, how to write more engaging and insightful comms, which will then be followed up by resources and wrap up. And at any point of time, if I'm talking too fast, please do raise your hand and that will signal me to slow down a little bit. So thanks for that. Right. So what is cybersecurity awareness? Well, essentially, it's about educating everyone around us about the important cybersecurity concepts and trends and how it impacts them and the key actions that they need to take. So think of Cybersecurity Awareness Month that we have every year in October, where we read articles about phishing emails, how to report them, multi-factor authentication, password managers, Privacy Awareness Week, which is usually in January, And more recently, the International Fraud Awareness Week, in November, where they promote anti-fraud awareness, which was new for me. I didn't even know that existed. And also thinking about, the data breaches that we've had in the previous years, such as the Optus hack and the Medibank, and all that personal information that was exposed, and the actions and steps that you needed to take to protect yourself. So at its core, cybersecurity is about protecting people, information, and its assets at both a personal level, such as Judy was saying about Bitcoin, and at a company level, such as your login and your passwords. So over to you. This is the Menti word cloud that we're going to create together. I'm very interested to see what everyone is going to contribute. So you can either scan the QR code, or you can type menti.com in your browser and enter the code over there. And let me know when you're there, and I'll start the word cloud. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, great. I'm just gonna activate it. All right. Is it live? Is it letting you submit? Great. Okay, cool. Oh, so there's no wrong or right answers. I won't be offended. In theory, it should be appearing. It doesn't seem to be working, but that's okay.
Let's try again. I'll try to resend it.
Oh, no, that's okay. I can see it on my other screen, but I can't see it on this screen. Let me just stop sharing this one. Yeah, and I'll just open it up on another window. But no, please do keep contributing. It seems to be working. I'm seeing the words pop through. All right, is it appearing now? Okay, cool. All right, I'm actually going to contribute some words myself, so thanks. All right, I'll give it around 5 minutes, and then thanks.
Yeah, it's showing up now.
Think about it.
And I have to say, I agree with each one of them, including boring.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, it used to be my day job to write, and even I was finding it a bit repetitive. So no, these are all good, valid points.
We can't escape that discussion, right? So,
but yeah, well, hopefully at the end of the session we can learn how to make it a bit more fun, because I had fun making this presentation.
cool, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. I think we're good. We have 2, 4, 6, 8 people. 2, 4,
Okay.
6, 7 people. Yeah. So
Okay.
not too sure if you're gonna get any further response.
No, okay, sounds good. Let me just stop sharing and see if we'll refresh it. Yeah, but thanks for contributing. Yeah, I had this grand plan, Audrey, that because I'm using Butter, it comes with a timer, and you can actually set like music when people are doing brainstorms. Yeah, but I didn't get to,
Don't expect these things to work when you need them.
yeah, but I'm like, oh,
I've learned that lesson before. So
that's okay. We can use it for next time.
that's what I usually do. I have my phone sitting on the side and with a timer.
No, I've got multiple screens here. It's all good. But it's all right. We can use that the next time if I'm invited again. All right, but anyway, let's review the responses. So we've got everything from it's boring, which is I'm glad somebody put that in there because that's what I felt too when I started writing them. We've got education, proactive defense, vigilant, continuous, education around cyber, empowering, habit changes, prevention, cyber empowerment, and behavior modification. Did the person who added vigilant want to elaborate more what they meant by vigilant? They can
Yeah,
put it
that
in
was
the
me.
chat. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, that was me. Uh, I think when you think cybersecurity training and awareness,
Mm,
the number one, well, one of the main points that you want to get across is,
mm,
the human factor, right? The
yep,
factor around the human weakness, I guess, when it comes to cyber. So the
mm,
training should be centered around making sure that you're vigilant in anything that you do on the computer, whether it's emails, checking emails, clicking on links, or
mm.
whatever it may be to that extent. I think by having a vigilant mindset, it just means you double check everything. You don't just act on impulse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing. Thanks. Well, that's really in-depth and insightful. But no, these are all good valid points about cybersecurity awareness, and these are my thoughts too. So thanks everyone for contributing. All right, let's see. So let me go to the next slide. Nope. Here is the new slide showing now. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay, just go bring up my notes. All right, then, yes. So, these are the sort of the cyber myths, cybersecurity awareness myths that I came across when I was doing my cyber comms roles. Number one, like going back to the point, cyber comms is boring. Essentially, it is like being like a broken radio. Yeah, but the thing is, I think what I've learned over the past year, it's about making it engaging and insightful for your reader. If you're falling asleep when you're writing it, it's a sign that your comms probably isn't really hitting the marks that you need it to do. Because if you're falling asleep writing it, means your reader's going to fall asleep too. Yeah, and I feel like, the saying where there's different ways of doing things. I feel like one of the things that I've learned, it's just about finding a different way of sharing the same message, but in a different way that's more engaging and more interesting for you as the writer to write, but also for your reader to uptake. Number two, nobody reads cybercoms until it's too late. I thought the breaking news gif was a bit was apt to fit that, because that's true. You don't usually read it until something happens to you, like if you got scammed, for instance. And number three, I'll never get hacked or fall for a scam. All right, so sorry. These are the lessons that I've learned over the past year, and so in my cybersecurity career. So cybercoms in essence, it's essentially the in case of emergency information kit. And I think when you have that mindset in mind, it helps when you're writing the comms, because it helps you sort of realize that what you're writing and creating is actually going to be helping someone, potentially you, yourself, your colleague, or your family member, when they are experiencing that cyber crisis, because it means that they have the access to all the information and the key contacts that they need in that moment. So going back to the point that I would never fall for a scam or get hacked, even the most seasoned cybersecurity professional will fall for a scam. Like, I've had 4 years in the field, and I've avoided most of the data breaches and passed all the test phishing simulations at work. I've had a pretty good run, but then this year I got scammed by Gumtree and experienced bank fraud multiple times. It can happen to anyone. So having that sort of cybercoms emergency information kit would have been really helpful for me at the time. So when it did happen in the moment, I had to like really dig through NABs, like information, like archives, to actually find out what was happening. If they had like an information kit that was like right there in the app, it would have prevented the scam. It would have also helped me like get the help that I needed in the moment without like feeling all the stress and like the anxiety of trying to find the right place to report it and to get help. yeah, going back to like cybercons being a broken radio, one of the things that I've learned in my collaboration with the US companies that I've had chances to collaborate with this year, is that they've told me it doesn't have to be boring or repetitive or a long thesis. It's you sort of just cater to your audience's preferred way of information uptake. So whether it's like through social media, like you could give them, oh yes, sorry, go Andrew.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. So
Sure.
based on my experience, I would say several different approaches to security awareness, but the two most common approaches would be the commandments. So you basically write off your table of commandments and you tell people what they should not do, which is the boring way, right? And keep telling people don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, so that like that message becomes ineffective after some time, and that's based on my experience. The way that actually worked for the companies that was responsible for awareness, uh, we told a story, right? So it's a different approach when you tell people don't do this, put a spin on it, and help people understand what the implications are of doing something, right? So something I've done for a financial institution, God, like more than 15 years ago, was uh, instead of telling them don't click on links that you do not recognize, what we did was a cyber campaign where we showed them what happens when they click on a link, right? So the repercussions of what happens when they click on a link, including, let's say, worst case scenario, data breach, engagement by law enforcement, and reputational damage. So it's like a little, like it starts with a little seed and then it branches out into something massive just based on that action or inaction, right? So, but I think people got way more engaged when we told them, okay, this is the whole, let's say, life cycle of a scam or the whole life cycle of a cyber attack. So I just wanted to add that by telling a story, you make it a bit more bearable for those who are not really interested in the topic.
No, thank you for sharing that. It's like great minds think alike. I was going to actually mention personal connection, but thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, because I think people tend to read things when there's a personal story or there's a personal connection to it. Because yeah, you're right. When you do make it sound like don't do this, don't do that, people just say, oh, it's another one of those campaigns. I'm not going to read this because it doesn't impact me. I feel like when you frame it in a way that sort of builds the connection that like, oh, hey, it actually happened to someone that I know, or like, oh, wait, this is what actually happens when I click on the link, it kind of reinforces like, oh, wait, what I'm learning and having to do, like the annual cybersecurity awareness training is actually going to help me make better decisions in the moment. And I feel like the more we sort of take that approach, yeah, I agree, people will voluntarily do cybersecurity awareness rather than you always having to chase them up going, have you done your training? Yeah, so anyway, I'm going back to the points about catering to your audience's preferred way of information uptake. Like obviously this varies company to company, but I feel like if you tend to write cyber comms like on your LinkedIn, like these are just thoughts that you could sort of take on board. So yeah, so some people they may sort of take on like content better through like audio formats and maybe refer them to a podcast on the topic that you're writing about, or if they're more visual learner, like, incorporate like a link to a video. And if they like reading, like written stuff, like, article recommendations, book recommendations, because I think our job as cybersecurity like professionals, it's not to give them the entire history of whatever topic that we're trying to talk about. It's sort of to give them like an introduction, like a taste of like, scams, for instance, and sort of give them like pointing them in the right direction, like, oh, here's where you can go to read more information. So let me just see if it'll let me go to the next slide. All right, it's working. Hi. Okay, fantastic. So this used to be me, the dinosaur, right? I was sitting on my laptop and falling asleep when I'm writing my cybercoms. So yeah, as I mentioned before, if you're falling asleep when you're writing it, it means a sign your reader's probably going to fall asleep. So one of the things that I used to do when I wrote my cybercoms, I try to do too much because I like to read and I like a lot of detail. So I try to cram in too much information, too much key takeaways, and too much actions. And that was a bit too overwhelming for the reader. And it was really working with my comms team, which sort of helped me refine the way that I was writing my comms to sort of assist with the uptake for people who are not either non-technical or even from technical backgrounds to sort of get them more engagement from the articles I was posting. Another thing was like technical definitions weren't defined. Like I feel like for the everyday cyber professional, like a lot of the terms that we use, like we know what it means, but for most people who aren't in that field, it's sort of still new to them and we have to define what it means. Otherwise, again, it kind of gets lost in translation. Also, there was too much going on in the articles that I was posting. There was just too many links, too many videos, too many graphics. Again, the reader just didn't know which way to go. And again, I'm going back to my point, like there was just no personal connection to the topic. And I feel like, yeah, sorry, go Andrew.
It's okay for you to finish your sentence,
Oh,
and
okay,
I'll
good.
jump in
Yeah,
after.
yeah, all good. I feel like, yeah, when you don't have that personal connection to the topic, it's people kind of go, oh, too long didn't read, or like, I'll just do it and I won't look at it until like, somebody tells me that I need to actually do it. Okay, yeah, please do go. Thanks.
Yeah, again, I'm sharing my experience
Mm.
in this area. So I think we do things with a good intention, right? We try to furnish people with as much data, as much information as possible. But there are a couple of things that we need to remember. Sometimes people are not literate enough to read that same material with the same eyes as we do, right? And it's not their fault. It's just a topic they're not interested in. So that's part one. Part two is uh, oversharing, like too much data, too much information at once. It's hard for them to digest that much unless they're interested in that topic, right? So I totally agree with you. It has to be short and sweet, right? Let's talk about a particular event. Let's see what happened without delving into the technical details, because usually people are not interested in the very tech. Some people are, but when you're covering let's say a general audience within an organization, we need to remind ourselves that we need to speak their language and not force them to speak our language, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think those are like good valid points. It's kind of like, if it's as it may be interesting to us, it may not be interesting to the person in HR who's just trying to get through their day. So if we're trying to really, get them to sort of take in our content, we just kind of have to abide by screenshot level is basically whatever is in your screenshot. So it's kind of like when you're on your desktop, like that screenshot of your desktop, that front page, like that's the information space that you have to sort of grab your reader's attention. It's the same on your mobile phone. Like I feel like I've been doing this more when I'm writing LinkedIn posts. I kind of screenshot when I'm on LinkedIn to see how long the post is and kind of go, what's missing like in the post, and is that part's missing, like will this article still make sense? Again, like I've only got that screenshot level on my phone to sort of get the attention, if that makes sense, because people who are interested will keep reading, but when we do try to overwhelm them too much, people just don't read at all because it's just too much to take in. But thanks for sharing. All right, let me just see if we'll go to the next slide. This is very temperamental, I'm finding. But thank you for your patience, we're almost there. All right, so this is Exhibit B. Come on. Yes. So this is the way to make content more engaging and interesting for yourself as the writer and also for the reader. It's to kind of have the key takeaway at the top and the key actions are clear. So going on that screenshot level, you have that space to capture their attention. What is it that you want to say? Going back to like sort of reducing down the overwhelm of like in the resources, like maybe just pick one or two supplementary resources towards the end of your article in addition to whatever it is that you're writing. Maybe if you can have option to share like key quotes from the articles on your social channels, because often when we are reading something of interest, it kind of does sort of help spread the cybersecurity awareness when you can like sort of share on like your social media channels like a quote that you learned today from reading an article or through your like internal I think back in the day there was Yammer back in government, like yeah, something short and snappy that you can share with your other colleagues just to keep that conversation going. I kind of think of it as the cupcake writing approach. Anybody like cupcakes? I like cupcakes. Yeah, I'm a red velvet person. So come think of the cupcake writing approach. The icing is the best bit that everybody likes. So put your most important parts of your cyber topic or your essence and key actions at the very top, because that's what you want people to read and that's what you want people to do. And all the extra supplementary bits, it's kind of like the rest of the cake, and people don't really get to the cake unless they really want to. So kind of think of it as writing it as a cupcake approach. So I feel like if you kind of keep those principles in place, it will make it more in fun and interesting for you as a writer as you're making this content, but it will also make it more fun and engaging for your readers as well, as they sort of can kind of go, okay, as long as I read the top bit, and if I want to keep reading, I can, but at the very end, there's some extra links that I can go to if I want to, and I think it just helps with the uptake of information. All right. Great, thanks. All right, I'm just going to attempt to share a video. I'll see if it'll let me do it. All right. I just realized my camera was off. Sorry about that. All right, let's go one more time. All right.
From a timekeeping perspective, Shirley, we have 2 minutes, if that's okay. Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine. This video is a minute, so yeah, we're good. All right, let me just thanks for letting me know. All right. Thanks for your patience here with the tech troubles. All right, is this playing?
Email. The email from this mail. The email from the boss that George opened up, though it looked a smidge funny.
This looks a smidge funny, but I'll open it up.
This is the email that George opened up and launched the attachment that zipped to the servers, that stole the identities, the passwords, the banking information, that got into the grid, that fried the transformers. This is the email that you can stop if you pause for just 9 seconds and take 9.
I'll just pause there. But yeah, so essentially, that's a little campaign video done by Pause Take 9. They're an organization based in the US. They're fairly quite new, but they're sort of again following the messaging that cybersecurity awareness doesn't need to be complicated, doesn't mean long and arduous. So their tagline is just take a 9-second pause and think before you click, download, and share, because everybody can pause for 9 seconds, right? Yeah, so if you want more information, just look it up. It's pausetake9.org, and I just wanted to do a quick little plug on this course, and then I'll wrap it up. All right, this is from the Cyber Collective. They are a New York City non-for-profit that I had the opportunity to volunteer with. So this course, it's co-created by the volunteers and their staff. It's their cybersecurity awareness course, and it's basically to help people understand the impact of technology so they can protect themselves and their communities online. The key audience is cybersecurity advocates such as ourselves to share the knowledge with friends, family, and colleagues. It's free. It's available in various formats. Its aim is to train and upskill personal instincts like the video before, and there's a whole range of downloadable resources to share on you, such as a glossary and an internet security plan. If you are interested in completing the course, just look up cybercollective.org. All right, that's all from me. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shirley. It's been awesome. So I've actually learned quite a few things there. It's always good to hear different opinions, different points of view. So I truly appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. Let me just share my screen again. I believe Oz needs to drop off. We're going to jump into the exercise. So you guys are more than welcome to stay. But if you can't, it's all good. Shirley, gonna stay with us?
If you don't mind that, I'll stay around. That'll be great. Thanks again for having me.
Of course. So let me jump into, I just need to find the right screen to share. Are you guys looking at the cyber awareness slide? Is it sharing yet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So some people, let me jump to the next slide. So review homework, 5 minutes. So for those who haven't joined us before, so what we do is we started our cybersecurity journey with a scenario, and we basically helping a company build their cybersecurity framework. We'll put it that way. So the first part of the exercise, jumping into the spreadsheet, just to give you a taste of what we did so far, was understanding the business, what the business does, what the business objectives are. And then from that scenario, we started delving into the cyber related topics that we needed to cover. So the first thing we did was, once we understood that business, what are the threats to that particular business? And I had the mentees going through the scenario and raising the threats themselves. So payments, high value goods, personal data. So just to bring you guys up to speed, this is a jewelry shop. It's like a physical brick and mortar shop, and they're planning to launch a website to sell their goods online. Right. So the threats that our mentees identified during that process were related to payments for the goods, high value goods, fraudulent transactions, which definitely makes sense. Personal data. So if you're collecting data about someone who's spending $100,000 on a necklace, that might be information of interest to people that are looking to scam them of their money, right? Delivery, transport, intellectual property, and site availability. So those were the threats. We then jumped into, okay, so with regards to the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, how is this threat, or what does this threat actually affect, right? So for payment CIA, fraudulent transaction CI, personal data CI, delivery and transport CI, intellectual property CI, and site availability, naturally availability of the website. Impact versus likelihood. We've done that. I don't know why it's not showing on the screen. So basically, what's the severity of each one of these issues? So probably it's in a different color. I will fix that later. Then we identified the threat actors. So what are the actors that pose a threat, or that particular threat, right? So for payments, it was internal, like a rogue employee, or external. For high value goods, we didn't have anything there. It's blank. Personal data the same. Delivery and transport, the delivery guy, hackers changing the delivery address, and people denying receiving it. It's a repudiation issue. For intellectual property, mostly internal threats, and for site availability, disgruntled customer or competitors. So the last time we met, the exercise, oh, sorry, not last time we met. So we also addressed the attack vectors, where these attacks are coming from. But last time we met, the homework was to propose some controls that would remediate those threats, right? So these were all shared by the mentees. So let's go quickly through each one of them, so we have time to cover the next part of the lesson. So for payments, multi-factor authentication for payment systems and encryption of sensitive payment information. Does anyone disagree? Okay, I will take silence as a no. If you do, raise your hand. So high value goods, so a secure e-commerce platform. That's a very generic statement, but I get what you mean. So the platform itself has to be secure. Any disagreements? I don't see any heads shaking, so we'll move on to the next one. Personal data, encryption and access control is privilege. I personally agree with those, unless someone disagrees. Delivery and transport, verification of delivery at the point of receipt, and tracking. Again, those make sense as well. Intellectual property, so non-disclosure. So that's a non-technical control. That's let's say a procedural control, right? So it's not a technology that you implement around no disclosure, but it's an agreement basically with whoever you hire to look after your business, or to work in your business. Data loss prevention, absolutely right. Branding and trademark, also 100%. You guys got everything right so far. Site availability, so backup system and incident response plan. Any Anyone disagrees with that? Okay, let's see. Shirley saying no, which is good. So jumping to the actual practical part of the exercise. So this is the scenario. I'll give you guys a minute or two to read through it, just so you're contextualized. But I gave you a gist of what we're doing here. So I'll mute myself for a minute or two. Okay, so we good? You guys have enough time to read through it? Hopefully, yes. So the homework, not the homework, but the work for today is we need to prioritize these proposed controls. So first, the first part of the exercise is let's prioritize each one of these issues, because imagine you're a CISO for this company. You don't have unlimited funds. You have just a set amount of funds to address the cybersecurity issues you have. Therefore, you're going to have to prioritize, right? So that's part one. And part two is how do we justify, how does the business justify choosing this thing over the other to be done first, right? So this is the part where you guys jump in and share your opinion, share your knowledge. So feel free to unmute yourselves and tell us what the priority would look like, and also a business justification for each one of them. Who's going to be first, as usual? As I always say, don't be afraid to make mistakes, right? It's all good. We're here to learn and share.
Adri, can I take the first go? It's Paresh.
Please do, Paresh.
Since they want to expand their online presence, the site availability and the database and the infrastructure, they should be concentrating it on firstly. And once as the business grows, they can kind of realign the priorities.
So can I put it like this, Paresh, if you don't mind? So personal data, so secure commerce platform. Paresh, I'll put this one as, let's say, one as well. So you mentioned both. Any one of those should come first.
I feel like access control should probably be up there, just in terms of if you haven't secured the data and the principle of least privilege initially, as you start to expand the business, maybe you're going to be setting yourself up for some potential vulnerabilities. And also, as a curveball from a marketing angle, I don't know if the business has thought about potentially separating their online presence from their physical presence if they want that brand association, because I know a lot of companies do that for these high value kind of goods, where they'll have their physical store branded one way, but they'll have their online presence branded a different way as well. So just a different perspective on it that I was just thinking about.
That's pretty good, Sarah. So can I mark these fraudulent transactions as two? It's not exactly what you said, but you said access control and separation of brand. So maybe intellectual property?
I think so, yeah, it probably ties in there best.
So, sorry, Sarah. I'll put this one as a 1 or a 2.
Let's say 2, yeah, for the sake of the
2,
exercise.
okay.
Yeah.
So Paresh, did you pick one? Which one comes first?
I'd go with payments as well, because since we are dealing in the high value transactions, that should also be put into priority.
Right. Okay. So we need to prioritize from 1 to 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right.
Which ones come first? Which one comes second? Which one comes third?
I'd go with infrastructure first, and then
Yeah. Which is this one here?
Yeah.
We'll use this one as an infrastructure.
Right. Yeah.
Just to make it simpler.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Structure. Jeez. Okay. So which one comes second, Paresh?
Infrastructure, and then I'd go with site availability.
Okay, so this one would be second.
Yep.
And payments naturally third.
Third, yeah.
Right. Do you guys all agree with that? Or what's your opinion? Shirley, do you have an opinion?
Really hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just looking at so no, this is a really good practical way to kind of like get practical experience.
It is.
You're taking hypothetical situations that could potentially be real. So Drew, just to recap, are you wanting us to rank the priorities from 1 to 6?
Suppose you're the CISO for this business. Okay. Which one would you address first? And it's interesting to see that we all have different opinions about things, right? So it's like there is never a single answer to a problem, right? There are multiple answers, but we're gonna work through all these responses and see if we can bring some structure to it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, I sometimes start backwards when I'm stuck with starting where to go first. So I would maybe put the parcel tampering as last priority.
Okay, so
yeah.
This is the 6.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Delivery and transport one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
I don't know why the text is like that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Technology. It's a Friday. Sorry.
Probably, yes.
It's all good.
The computer is tired.
I guess to take a break. Site availability, is that like that's the website, right? Not like a physical site?
It's the actual website.
Oh, okay, the actual website. Okay. Well, if your website is down, that means your customers can't actually pay you anyway. So maybe your website might be 1 or 2.
Okay, that's a good way to see it.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2.
I think I'm going to be 1 because if your website isn't working, they can't pay you anyway. So then all the great controls that you make, if they can't get to your site, it doesn't matter, right? So then I guess I would put number 2. What's the difference between payments and high value good for transactions? Is payments just like for the everyday customer, and the high value goods, it's like a different like order?
Okay, so in this case, what I would say is payments is the payment system, and the fraudulent transaction is the actual business application, the website, right? So the website itself. So let's say, just to simplify what we're discussing about here. Really? Okay, so infrastructure / website. I'm just oversimplifying what we're discussing here. And these would be, let's say, a payment gateway. The text looks terrible. I apologize for that, but I don't know how to fix it, and I'm not going to fix it now. I know how to fix it, but I'm not going to do it now.
No, that's okay. It's all good. Thanks, Adu. Okay, no, thanks for doing that. I think that makes sense. Oh, well, I will probably put, what number am I up to now? I think number 2, right? I guess I'll put the e-commerce platform as number 2.
This one here?
Yeah. And then I would put payments number 3.
Payments number 3.
Yeah. And then I'll put I feel like both personal data and intellectual is important though. I'm gonna have to put number 4 for personal data.
Kaylin, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, thank you. So I think I would agree with Shirley. I'd have to put site availability as my first option as well, because I
Okay.
feel like it carries a bit of everything
sorry.
that needs to be done.
Kaylin, 1.
And then the second, I would have to put e-commerce. I'd have to either e-commerce platform, secure e-commerce platform.
Second.
Yeah. And then for number 3 will be payments for me as well. I'm really just trying to see the actual business flow from what is the most important in terms of just normal day to day. And then number 4, I would have site availability as one, delivery and transport.
Number 4.
Yes, delivery and transport. And then 5, personal data, and then 6, intellectual property.
5, which one? Sorry, intellectual property?
Personal data. No. 5, personal data.
All right. Okay. So,
And then the last one is intellectual property. That's how I would view it.
5 and intellectual property. Like that?
Yep.
Awesome. Do we all agree or disagree? Well, by just looking at the numbers, we disagree, right? Because personal data comes first for Sarah, number 4 for Shirley, and 5 for Kaylin. So how do we decide? What would be the next step here? Remember, you are the CISO, you have limited budget, and you need to make decisions. So you're not, let's say you have budget to work on 3 issues this year and another 3 issues the year after. What's the natural process to be followed here?
Shouldn't we concentrate on high value, to put it that way, high risk factor, what's say?
You got it.
Issues, yeah.
You got it. You got it. So I personally do not disagree with any of you. Like, it depends on what we're looking at. Naturally, I would choose to do one thing over the other, but something that is missing here, unfortunately, is the severity, impact versus likelihood, right? And if your company is taking a risk-based approach to cybersecurity, that's what's going to drive your investment. So I'm going to just put severity like impact and versus likelihood, which is basically the risk of something happening here. And let's see if you guys change your opinion about the numbers you put here. Okay. So payments, I will put these as a medium. High value goods. Like I'm not using any methodology here. It's just out of my mind, like out of the blue. So high value goods, fraudulent transactions, this is a high. This is how the business evaluated these threats, okay? Personal data, low. Delivery and transport, high. Intellectual property, low. And site availability, medium. Right. What we just did was to contextualize the problems, the threats, the controls, and the priority. So having said or having specified the risk or severity for each one of these threats, would you guys keep your priorities the same or would you make changes to it?
Definitely in this scenario, Adri, the choices would definitely kind of realign itself, going with the budget factor and the high risk value. So you prioritize the matching the budget value to the risk factor and then kind of go ahead with resolving the issue.
I 100% agree with you, Paresh. So what you guys need to understand early days in your career is I've been in the position of recommending products to solve recommending products to solve a problem without the context of understanding the impact to the business, right? It's pretty easy early days in your career to say we need $1 million firewall, right? Make such oh, we need $1.5 million DLP system because there are people running away with our data. Uh, okay, but what's the context of that problem, right? Are people running away with, let's say, public data? So that's not necessarily an issue, right? So we need to be able to contextualize our investment, our approach to cybersecurity. So in this particular case here, as a business owner, suppose I'm the business owner for this company, My Precious, and I tell you from my point of view, this is the impact versus likelihood for each one of these threats as I see it as a business owner, right? There are two things there as a cybersecurity professional. Well, a couple of things, but let me break it down into smaller pieces. If you do not agree with what I've decided for my business as severity/risk, as a cyber professional, it's your duty to educate whoever is assessing that risk, right? So they might not have enough knowledge to understand that payments is actually a high and delivery transport is a low. So that's the education part of helping the business understand their problems because cybersecurity is a highly specialized problem to solve, right? Therefore, people uh, using common sense might get a good grasp of the problem, but they might not fully understand the problem, right? Therefore, two things there or takeaways. First, you do not recommend products or solutions without a context. You need to understand what the context is. Otherwise, you're just gonna look like that person that pushes a different product every week, right? So, and again, I've been in that position early days in my career. I didn't understand the full picture, so I always wanted to play with the latest firewall myself, right? Um, but with time and experience, you learn that whatever you're doing, even if it, as I said, first steps into cyber, it does have a repercussion, right? And it has to tie back to a business objective. And second part is when you do not agree with the assessment of a risk, it's your role, it's your obligation to try and educate whoever is making that decision, which doesn't mean you're going to force them to make a different decision, because at the end of the day, in this particular scenario, it's my business. I'm accepting risk, right? So we do what we can to inform people to make better decisions or let's say informed decisions, but at the end of the day the business might decide to take some risks because they're looking at it. You're looking at the problem from here, I'm looking at the problem from up here. There might be other things that you're not able to see that I can, and within the context of everything that I'm looking at, this is not a high risk anymore. There is something that is a bit more pressing that I need to address. Does that make sense? Do
Yeah,
you
that makes
guys?
a lot of sense, Audrey. Like, because I guess like humans inherently bring a bias, and particularly if you're a business owner, you're bringing some emotion to the table. You want to protect your baby, but you don't have that perspective. Whereas as a cyber professional, you can look at it from a pragmatic approach, and as you say, look at the whole picture and adequately provide that risk assessment. But is it also true though that if there is, say, like low-hanging fruit, say you can implement MFA quickly, something like that, then it would be worthwhile to put that on the horizon as well, if there are those sort of low-hanging fruit as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the definition of low-hanging fruit, if you guys are not across it, you might be, but basically things that with little effort, I'm gonna get a larger benefit, right? So if something takes, let's say, 2 minutes to implement, and I'm gonna be buying down my risk by from a high to a low, right? So that's a low-hanging fruit. Absolutely. So low-hanging fruit should be part of your strategy to address or to make things more secure. So 100%, Sarah, spot on.
Cool. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense, because there's good like ROI sometimes that, because you have that perspective, you can see and bring to the client, I suppose. Yeah.
100%. Anyone else has anything to add to it?
I think this is a really great activity, and I think everyone's thoughts and perspectives have been really useful. And yeah, I think also like yeah, it does absolutely help like when you know like the severity impact when you are like ranking I guess the features and risks. I kind of like pull it back to like my project management product management experience. You can't address every feature and you can't address every problem. So by having like a methodology to sort of prioritize it, they call it a backlog. It's not like you're forgetting about it, but you're just putting it as a lower priority as you address the more pressing ones. And I think it's also just about like communicating to your stakeholders like where the priorities are and like what are the plans are for the parked options, if that makes sense. Because there's no possible way to make everyone happy, but again, it's just about communication, right? Yeah. Cool.
That's
Thanks.
it. Absolutely right, Shirley. Guys, I need to rush to another meeting, so I would like to thank you for your time, for joining us, sharing your ideas, your knowledge with us. This is the last session of this year, so stay tuned. I'm going to email you guys sometime next week so we can schedule our next session, but it's probably going to be second half of January. I wish you all an awesome break. Make the most of your slow time. Hopefully you get some slow time to recharge your batteries. But once again, thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful and puts you on the right track to becoming a more informed security professional.
Thanks, Audrey, and thanks for jumping on board today, Shirley. Awesome to hear from you. Have
Thanks,
a lovely
everyone.
Christmas all.
That's right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Shirley.
everyone.
Chill
See you
time.
in the new year.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.